We're back again today, and this time you got fancy Jeff. That's right, I got a hot date tonight, but I gotta do some installs. We're gonna be installing a glow brace, which we sell on our website, circuitdemon.com, for Cameron. So Cam brought his car in this morning. I immediately noticed the Never Content license plate frame in the back, so good taste, sir. There are great install instructions. We love Icy Arrow. He is such a homie. I am super excited to install one of these because up until this point, we've just been able to look at the product that we stock and not actually put one in a car. All right, welcome to my desk here for today. So we have the Icy Arrow products laid out. It looks like we have some hardware with some spacers. We have the zip tied, of course. We have this wiring harness, which is actually really nice. It's got a relay, which is always good to see. We have a switch from the cabin to be able to turn it on and off. And it looks like we have some raw power wires. This is most likely, and we'll get to the instructions and see exactly why, but if you wanted to connect this to a non-constant power source, you can do that. If you want to put these to the battery, which we'll probably end up doing, we'll just go ahead and put some loop connectors on there. And then they gave us this great instruction sheet with a QR code. We have our iPad here with those pulled up. I haven't gone through them yet. I just wanted to lay out everything as you see it. Next up, we got the box. What's in the box? All right. Cool, here she is. So we have the SP105E. This is probably the most common addressable LED remote that you'll see. I do see the connectors he's using are the nice fancy water repellent, not waterproof. They're probably waterproof or close to it, but they are really nice connectors. Everything is heat shrunk really well, like extremely well. Glue line heat shrink. It looks like he clamped the heat shrink after he heated it before it set, which is great. I'm really impressed with this product. Everything looks very watertight. You can see here, it's pretty crazy. He actually found a heat shrink tubing that expanded this large that was able to shrink that much. Most of the stuff we use is 2-to-1. This looks a little bigger than that, which is cool. The heat shrink goes all the way from the tube, and there's probably about a good 1.5 inches of adhesion on the tube all the way to through the barrel connector, which, like I said, it looks like it was clamped, which is good stuff to my guys over there. Super excited to put this together. Like I said, everything looks great. So as far as the workings of the app goes, we are going to get to that once we have it on the car. I don't really see much of a point in trying it out before we get everything where it's supposed to go. I do know that he tests these before shipping them out, so everything should be a-okay, set to go. I'm not worried about this not working. The one thing that I do see here that some of you might have, some of you might not, is a license plate relocation. This has to come off first before you take the bumper off. If you don't, you'll damage the bumper. I'm gonna take that off right now, just before we get carried away, so that none of that happens. Cool, that's all set. Another thing to note, it does have fog lights. So when we go to take the bumper off, we just have to make sure we unplug those before we give her a pull. So I like to maybe humbly brag about my ability to take these bumpers off very quickly. When I had my 2017 STI, I think last time we timed myself, it was like 1 minute and like 20 seconds.
2 hours later.
And then it looks like there's a screw that goes through here now that we gotta take out. There's something right here. I thought I got that clip.
Like 1 minute and like 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
6.5 hours later.
All right, we have the bumper off, and we're gonna just look up the instructions real quick. Make sure we know exactly our path forward. I think I see the exact bolts that we're gonna be going for, but let's look at the documentation. So we have these bolts just below the headlight brackets. And then we got an image of how they're supposed to sit. With the brace, you can either have it kind of like an arrow up or an arrow down. It'll mount either way. So we're gonna call Cam and just see which configuration he wants before we put it in. Hey, do you know if Cam said which way he wants it to be? Like this or like this?
Hey Cam, it's Ben over at Circuit Demon. We just had a quick question about the arrow brace. Like a V? Okay, cool. Awesome, we'll get that done for you. Like a V.
All right, so Cam said he would like a V configuration. So we're gonna go V it up. We'll be sneaky about this. So as far as the wires go, the heat shrink, you can heat it back up and it'll become pliable again. So if we need to have this like rigid piece right here, like flex or bend a different way, we can do that. I ended up actually choosing to route the wires through this cross brace here. I just thought it was a good way to do it. You might be wondering, how do I know how to do this? Is this something that I at home can do? Now, we've had years of experience installing headlights, so this is kind of like the different ways that I typically route wiring. I don't like to have it on top of the engine bay or like here. I'd like to have it hidden. So typically what that means is going through kind of these passages or underneath the radiator shroud so you can't see it. So that's a good way to do it. The driver's side heat shrink is a little kinked, so I am gonna go ahead and heat that up just so we don't have any sort of fitment issues. Now, obviously you could see, you could slide this bracket around on these before you tighten these all the way. So what I don't want is this kink here to put pressure on me trying to center it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and heat that up. It should adjust to the way we want it, and everyone's happy. Oh. Oh. You can see before when we had this kind of cocked, it was caving in this air gap, which should be fine. We heated it up, we routed it where we want. Everything looks nice. There's no resistance or anything weird on that. I got plenty of movement, so that's great. Little trick for you guys to do. What I'm gonna do before I tighten anything is just run the wires where they should go towards the battery. Typically, we're gonna mount the remote and any other electrical components around the battery and fuse box. Now, most of these are weatherproof through the connectors, but we need to make sure that the unit as a whole is somewhere where it's not gonna be susceptible to any sort of corrosion. Obviously, an engine bay in a car is not like a weather tight or like perfect environment for anything. The cleaner we can kind of have it, the better tucked, the better it is going to be for the customer and the longer it's going to last. All right, so I took the washer fluid reservoir cap off. I'm going to have these wires kind of follow the hood latch line here as they get up to the fuse box area and connect them there. Icy Aero did include an extension for one side. As you can see, we don't need it. This was able to wire very clean. We actually have like a pretty good amount of extra wire up here. So that extension, if you want it, depending on how you route your wires, you can use it. For here, we don't need it. Less wire, less mess. Now that we have the wires kind of where they're gonna go, I am gonna go ahead and adjust how the angle and how the position of this is. What I might do is take a peek at like a picture of one of these cars and see how far the horn and the hood latch area is for the grille. I do know the customer does have an aftermarket grille, which is pretty wide open. But obviously the more of this that we could show off and see from the front of the car, the better. I'm gonna just take a peek online and see if I should have it a little bit lower, a little bit higher. Fortunately, we do have a ton of adjustability with this, so that's great. I actually ended up routing the wiring down towards the washer fluid reservoir. Now, I was gonna have it go along here, but I realized that it'd be a lot cleaner if I just went under. So I'm just trying to find some mounting points for these so that they keep out of the way. From here, they're gonna go up with the factory wiring through the fender and into our battery area. Now, I did notice that this is also a little loose, so we're gonna go ahead and tighten that for him as well. I see him right here, right across the way. Yeah, there he is right there. Chris, what's up, dude?
Hey guys.
Chris, I'm looking for a hole to enter this car.
I gave you a hole you can enter.
This VAWX. It's like any sort of like body plug. Yeah, by like the firewall.
Did you try
battery
opening
area.
your eyes?
All right, Chris, I'd love to hear your class on holes.
He's not gonna like this.
So what you're going to want to do is remove this cover, remove this inner
Oh,
core. Right
buzz
here.
off, dude.
See?
Is there one near the pedals, like the GD chassis? Look at this photographer, his coffee. All right, we have some wiring rod that we pushed through one of the grommets, and I'm going to attempt to bring this big old thing with the wires we need in the cabin. I can't get all that wire through the body plug there. So what I'm gonna do instead is I did pass the wires through, and I'll show you where in the cabin. And for the remote, I'm gonna have that inside the fuse box. Now this is something I've done in the past, and there's a lot of room in the bottom of the fuse box. So we're just going to use that. Obviously it's fairly weatherproof. So mind the cables, the fuse box is 4 tabs, one in each corner that you just push in, and you're able to lift this up. And then once we go in there, there's this block that kind of blocks the opening of the fuse box down there. So all I'm gonna do is route the wires from the headlights up there. I'm going to route the power and ground from the relay harness up there. And then our controller is going to live inside of there. So that should do a pretty good job of keeping everything nice and clean. Putting the power wires in, the remote here. All right. Cool, got that grommet on there. So we have our switch drilled here. I put it on this side. I was hoping to use this dead spot, but the switch is too big for it. So we ended up right there. I'm just gonna plug the other switches back in here. So last step is going to be to plug the positive and ground of the battery here. We'll test it out, and then we'll make sure that all the wires are set in place. We're hooked up to the battery. We got the switch inside. They're off right now, but let's see what happens when I turn them on. Blue! I'm gonna go in the app here, which is the Magic LED app. So I'm gonna go to the SP105E, which is that remote, and now we're connected. So this is where I can go ahead and change the color. We got red, we got green, we got white, we got warm white and cool white. And we also have a whole bunch of different modes. So this actually has 200 different modes, different sweeping sequences. But yeah, we could turn them off, we could turn them on. We have the switch inside as well. But that's how you use the app there. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The settings are already good to go on this. I double checked earlier. 60 pixels, RGB, and then the WS2811, the LED type. So that was all set up in there already. Awesome. Let's get the car together and then we'll show you the final result.